Hi, I'm Mike Baumwoll. I'm graduated 2009. 2009 people in the room? Matt, all right. My business, I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Mink. Mink is an education platform that connects alumni back to their alma mater in a deeper, sort of more digital way. Does that work? All right.
Hello everyone, my name is Therese Brown, class of 2007. I am designer and owner of Teresa Donna, which is a contemporary women's ready-to-wear and men's accessories company designed for the superhero in all of us. Tonight, I'm wearing one of my lovely designs, and I look forward to speaking to you more about it.
Great. Hi everyone, my name is Keith Angel. Thank you for having me, Yusuf. I did enjoy spending time with you maybe 6 months to a year ago, and really it's pretty amazing the work you've done, and so thanks for including me. My name is Keith Angel. I'm class of 1998, so I think I'm the oldest up here. I founded a company in Philadelphia 6 years ago called PerPay. It's a fintech point-of-sale lending platform. I left that about 3 years ago to found my second company with one of my investors. It's called Better Spaces, and we're here in New York City. It's a software and service platform where we bring wellness and other services through technology into the corporate office environment.
Hi, my name is Alex Meese. I'm a graduate of the class of 2008. I'm the co-founder and chief product officer of Kinvolved. We're an ed tech company that focuses on the K-12 market. We offer a software program, a web app, and mobile application that enables two-way communication between school and home in over 80 languages to ensure that all families are involved, regardless of their language background, with a focus on attendance improvement.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we'll start while you have the microphone, Alex. One thing that I would like to know a little bit more about, I think from all of you, but where did the inspiration come from? You know, so for all these folks in the room right now, we all have an interest in becoming an entrepreneur, but it's like that idea. Where is just the epiphany out of nowhere, did a light bulb go off? Or was it a result of activities you were involved in, people you were involved in, your networks? Tell us where the inspiration came from.
Sure. So while I was at Lafayette, I was a psychology major, Bachelor of Arts, taking probably every class available to me and not knowing quite sure what I wanted to do with that, to much my parents' chagrin of, why would you take an architecture class? Like, you're not going to be an architect. But it was always very... Yeah, we still have like arguments about that. They're both doctors, very straight and narrow path. And then when I said one day I want to start this company, they're like, what? Like, you don't know how to do that? But I worked out of college in the Bronx. While I was in college at Lafayette, I focused on health psychology. So I worked at an autism treatment and advocacy center out of college for 3 years in the Bronx, which is the nation's poorest congressional district. So the families that I worked with were living double, triple under the poverty line, speaking English as a second language and learning that your kid is diagnosed with autism, and then hearing that there is no cure and education is the treatment option. Well, what do you do when you're situated in the world's largest public school district with 1.1 million kids, there's no resources, and you don't speak English? So there's a lot of challenges in that environment. And for 3 years, I was working as like this coordinator, but like paralegal, social worker. And my boss, who was a pediatric neurologist, said, you know, you should really be a lawyer. And I was like, oh God, like, I don't want to be a lawyer. He's like, well, you should be a doctor. So I actually went back to like this post-bac med school at Columbia. That wasn't for me. I dropped out. And he's like, okay, well, maybe try politics. Like, you can talk to people. And I was like, well, I don't want to be a politician either. So I went to NYU Wagner. It's NYU's public policy program. So I have my master's in public administration, specialization in health policy analysis, nothing to do with building education technology, but long story short, I built this company out of a huge problem facing our society, which is a lack of equity in our educational system for parents of children that do not speak English. So my co-founder was a teacher in the New York City DOE, having 150 kids on your roster expecting to communicate with these families, it's not possible. And unfortunately, the kids in which we work, the circumstances of high-need communities are not going to school all the time. About 50% of kids are chronically absent, meaning they miss 20% or more of school days. In New York City, to give you that perspective, imagine Yankee Stadium filled 2 times over. That's the number of kids in this city that are not going to school every day. And our district is not doing much about it. So we built this technology to inform parents in real time if their kids are not in school in 80 languages, and it's two-way communication. So I really built it out of my own personal experiences, and I'm happy to share more about that.
Perfect.
That's great.
Keith, so you're wrapping up Per-Pay, that's run its course. Where did the inspiration from Better Spaces come from?
Sure. So maybe I'll give you a little background. I spent about 15 years working in New York City in derivatives, which was at one point a very innovative place to be, and you could actually be creative and lend money and do interesting things, and then the world kind of changed, and being a banker was almost like a bad guy, or is, I don't know, lawyers, bankers, consultants. And so the opportunity to start a financial technology company and kind of learn what it's like to be an entrepreneur and not just have a stack of pen resumes come across my desk every day was really exciting to me. I had no idea what I was doing or getting myself into. And so the second time around, it's every time you get a second chance at looking at something, you try to learn from the lessons you took from your first event. So for me, Better Spaces, just to tell you what we do, my partner on Better Spaces had founded a sustainability consulting company that worked with the state of California, CalPERS, Naveen, some amazing asset managers, and they were being approached on how do you deliver not just environmental services, energy, water, waste, but kind of social. And if you think about what's happening in the market with environmental, social, and governance movements, I thought it was a fascinating area with the social community components. And so when he approached me to see if I would be interested in working on something together, I was really enthralled with the idea of kind of building a social community platform that delivers kind of wellness, well-being, and a lot of things at scale into the office environment. Having worked at places like Credit Suisse and know what the culture is like, the amenities are like for talent, this platform that we ended up founding together and developing allows for buildings that have smaller companies, like 50 people, to compete with companies like Google by networking the building together. So as an example, we're at 420 Lexington. It's a 1.5 million square foot, 8,000 person building. If you have a 50-person company and you're trying to do meditation with your team to help them be more productive and lower risk, the challenge is that if only 5 to 10% of your company does it, that's 2 to 5 people. But when you network the whole building of 8,000 people and you get 5 to 10%, you're talking about 400 to 800 people. And it didn't take my math degree from Lafayette College to figure that out, that we can do things at scale. So we can have multiple classes, multiple times in multiple places. And it was kind of a mission and purpose around ESG that I became passionate for. And so, once you've done it once, you're like, okay, where do I want to spend my time? You want to make sure you have an exceptional team, an exceptional mission, and something that you're going to be passionate about. And so that's why I went for this one.
Nice. So Therese, you're not a stranger to Wall Street either. So, how did you pivot from there to fashion?
Well, I almost forgot about that in that ugly gray suit. So at Lafayette, I studied economics and I double majored in studio art. And I come from an immigrant background, and I'm also the oldest in my family. So for my parents, you didn't have a good job unless you were a doctor, lawyer, or an accountant. And my mother was very specific when she said that she wanted me to be an accountant. And so I went to Lafayette thinking I was going to be somebody on Wall Street, and Professor Duvall's class woke me up, and I ran down the hill to Professor Kearns, and I said, hey, I went to this fashion school in New York. I'm doing this thing because my parents really want me to. I want a good job, but I also love art. And so he took a look at my portfolio and said that, hey, you're pretty good. You would test out of some courses. Why not take some art classes? And so that is how I ended up double majoring in the first place, and I think that gave me really great balance. What it also gave me was the joy that I was looking for on the art side, but it also gave me the business foundation. And so while I was on Wall Street, I was at Lehman Brothers and Goldman Sachs. While it wasn't for me, I think those experiences were so important because it laid the foundation for me to start my own business. So after that ended and I saw the light, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go back to school and do what I really wanna do, which is design. To me, it wasn't hard to start my business from that because I felt like I had a really strong business foundation and I kind of knew what to do with that part. Now, how do I figure it out? Because there was no one before me who had done this in my family, in my circles. Everyone was lawyers and doctors, no creative people at all. So I kind of just had to figure it out myself. And I'm the kind of person where if I don't know something, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to see what I need to do. And that's how I'm here.
Awesome. So Mike, I know you're in IT or in technical work. You work for Twitter. But how, the pivot to Mink, like where did that come from?
Well, it actually started at Lafayette. Yeah, we had sort of a similar story. I was an econ major, and I took a marketing class, and it was great. But we were tasked with coming up with a product, a brand new product, brand new company, and marketing that company. And a buddy of mine and I came up with a really sort of unique and a little bit embarrassing concept. It was called Varsity Jackets. Varsity Jackets is a collegiate condom company that promoted safe sex on college campuses using school spirit, which was a really fun concept for a junior in college to sort of explore this in a safe way, of course. My wife's in the audience, that's really embarrassing. But I think it sort of sparked. Once I got the opportunity to try something new and build something completely from the ground up, it was an energy that I found that I never really experienced before, and it sort of launched me on this path of entrepreneurship. I sort of describe how I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, because I could talk about the subject for hours and hours and not get tired. Like, that's how I knew. I was like, I gotta do this. That led me to another startup a couple years ago, which eventually led me to where I'm at now, which is with Mink. And really the spark for Mink came during the 2016 election. My brother and I, who's my co-founder, we were sort of frustrated with the lack of access to expertise. I'm sure you guys can remember during the 2016 election, it was really tough to figure out what news was credible, where it was coming from, etc. And we just felt like we needed to do something about it, and we created a platform that grants access to people, that grants access to experts. And for us, expert was synonymous with professor. So we thought it was a good opportunity to connect with different universities and leverage the knowledge and talent of professors to connect them back to what it is today, alumni.
Awesome. So Teresa, I remember speaking with you, and you had mentioned at some point a pivotal experience for you in your journey. It was like a incubation program or something around the kind of fashion that really helped you find a home at. So can you talk to us a little bit about what that was, whether it's an accelerated program or something like that, and the value of that for anyone who has an idea and may be interested in going that direction?
Okay, so you're referring to the Philadelphia Fashion Incubator at Macy's that I participated in for 1 year from 2014 through 2015. That came about because after I graduated from FIT with a degree in fashion design, I was working in the industry as a designer, and I was loving it, but I really, really wanted to start my own thing. And I would go to work full-time, and then at night I would kind of do my thing on the side, and my business grew over time to the point where I was working 2 full-time jobs. And so it was kind of like, okay, which is more important now? Do I leave this stability here and really see if I can make this work, or just tough it out and not sleep? And a friend of mine had done the program the prior year to me in Philadelphia and mentioned it to me. So what it is if anyone's interested in that kind of thing, it's a 1-year residency. Macy's sponsors it at Center City in Philadelphia. They give the space at a discount. So all the designers, 5 of us, got studio space at a steep discount, something unheard of that you would not get anywhere else, inside Macy's, and we could work on our collections there. Macy's introduced us to stores, to key people in the industry to help us with our careers, from marketing, technology, production, anything you needed for your business. They made sure you got it. And this lasted for 1 year, so it was like a torturous 1 year. So in order to do this program, however, I had to move to Philadelphia. So I quit my job. I just was like, I'm done. Quit. Moved to Philadelphia, and I remember my parents saying, like, what are you doing? Like, when are you gonna get a job? And I was like, this is my job. I don't have any money yet, but I'm gonna make money. And they're like, no, this is a hobby. You need a job. And I moved anywhere. I was like, whatever, you'll see. So moved to Philadelphia, did the program for 1 year, and in 1 year, it completely transformed my business. And that's how I got my start selling wholesale, because literally Macy's opened these doors, and then I got into one store, and then it's kind of like when one person hears about you and everyone else wants to know, and then the second store came, and so on and so forth.
So Alex, did you have a similar experience? I think I remember in our conversations, you were also part of didn't you win a competition, or there was something around your experience with it, whether it's an accelerator or something like that? Could you tell us a little bit about it and how it kind of helped you take the idea to the next level?
Sure, but it's taken about 6 years to give some perspective to push the needle on my work. I was in graduate school at NYU. For full transparency, I applied at like 11:59 p.m. The application was due at midnight to get into this graduate school program. So it wasn't quite in my plan. I just thought, like, NYU's a reputable institution. I love learning, and I say, like, I'm probably one of the only entrepreneurs. It's like, when I exit, I want to take my cash and like get my PhD. I love learning. So I was at NYU, and I had a lot of support. The network was awesome. We had an idea to build Kinvolved, and it was born out of entering into a public policy challenge. So when I was about 25 at graduate school, this is what I did for fun on the weekends, was like write my application and like prepare for this public policy challenge at UPenn in Philadelphia also. So we submitted a proposal and the thesis of the challenge was to solve a problem in your community. So the thesis was that attendance is an issue. Kids are not in school, particularly in high-need communities. Parents just don't know, they need to be informed. We go up, and in 2012, this was before, and then I judged that competition years after, and then every year after it was like a mobile app for global warming, a mobile app for like trash collection, like everything had a mobile app. But we were the only mobile app at the time, so I think I got a little lucky. So I think there's a little bit of luck involved in that we got this cash prize. And at the time it was $10,000, and I thought I won the lottery. I was like, that is the most cash I've had like on hand to do something, which is awesome. So we took that money, I don't like know how much it cost to build our prototype. So I took this app and started marketing it around, and while I was in graduate school, we raised about $200,000 of non-dilutive funding, which was awesome because I still maintain all my equity. It gave me position to raise a seed fund and all these other things, but we're really good at getting grants. So that's where we really got our start, from NYU, Philadelphia, or UPenn, and I had the luxury of having that environment of starting Kinvolved while in graduate school. So I was working full-time in the Bronx. I was going to grad school and then starting this company. So similarly, something had to give. In 2013, I graduated. And while all of my friends were getting that job that I thought I wanted in advocacy work or policy work or what have you, my co-founder and I were like, all right, I guess we'll do this now. And we didn't have an office. So we're like, we guess the library is our office. So then, like, to this day, it was like her apartment's still our like company address and the whole thing. But yes, that is how we got our start in the library, and that's how we came up with our name, Kinvolved, which means getting kin involved, and that is a process of a whiteboard and pen. Yes.
So Keith, as somebody who's scaled a couple of businesses, and you move beyond, just the founder leading and running the organization, you have a team of people that, have to really move this forward. Can you talk a little bit about, how you approach creating a culture with whether it was per pay or better spaces, that really helps make sure everyone in the organization is all hands on deck and moving it forward? Yeah,
no, that's a great question. Culture is incredibly important. Another piece that's really important is the team. So if those in the audience are thinking about starting a company, taking money from investors, having a co-partner or co-founder, hiring a team, it's hugely important. And having deployed a little bit of capital and talked to a variety of venture capitalists that are friends, they invest in team. So, like for me, in my first go at it, I found a remarkable CTO who was going to go to Comcast and had multiple offers, and it just took something extra and something special, and getting him to believe in the team and the culture. And my co-founder at that one, really did a remarkable job of kind of building that marketing engine. So that was a huge piece. With Better Spaces, because we're focused on environmental, social, and governance and sustainability, it's finding people that can believe in your mission. So our mission is to help companies attract, retain, and develop talent. And as you see automation happening, where we automate pieces, we think the human touch is incredibly important. And going from the production economy to the innovation economy, and the transformation happening in real estate and wellness is pretty massive. So I think part of the culture is finding people that kind of believe in that mission.
And Mike, I want to come to you, and I want to, I've talked to you quite a bit about Mink and your journey, but can you talk or speak to the role of mentors, right? In developing, whether it was getting the prototype together, whether it was fleshing out the idea, how did you find the right mentors, and how were you able to leverage them to take the product to where it is today?
Sure. As every entrepreneur knows, it's really hard because you're doing it by yourself most of the time, right? You're starting this amazing idea. Everyone has an amazing idea, but you're starting it by yourself or with a co-founder, and you're building it from the ground up. And it's really difficult to do that because you don't know how to find answers, where to go, where are the resources. And it takes a while, I would say. The role of a mentor is absolutely paramount because they've been there before, right? They've had the experience of building a company. And I would say the best place to find it, and what helped me, is there's a really tight entrepreneurial community in every major city, but there's definitely a massive one within New York City. And the idea is just put yourself out there, go to a bunch of events, go to a bunch of pitch events. They're all over the city. There are resources, newsletters, and just get involved as much as you can, because the more involved you get within the community, the bigger your network grows, and then the easier it will be for you to find somebody who's done this before, who's created and successfully had multiple startups and gone through the process of raising capital and building a product, etc. So that's probably the best way to find somebody. And it was paramount for me in terms of building a product, right? Because I've never done it before. I'm not an engineer. But having those conversations, testing, it was the best way to find somebody that I can know and trust to help guide me along the way as I build my company.
So Therese, outside of your negotiation and persuasion skills around convincing your parents it was okay to not be an accountant, what would you say, and I know there's going to be multiple things that contribute to your respective success on this panel, but if there was one attribute that you could attribute that had the greatest impact on being able to kind of take it from conception to where you're at now, what is that?
Wow. I know, right? So there are a couple things that I do. Number one, for me, faith is extremely important. And I say that because I'm not a religious person, I'm very spiritual. But when things get really, really hard and there are no sales, or you invested all this money and then nothing, and you're like wondering like, oh my God, like all these people who believe in me, I'm letting them down. That's when I draw on my faith, and that's when I say to myself, everything will be okay. And that you have to go through this, something better is gonna come. And that's what gets me through. So that's number one, you have to believe in something. I don't care what you believe in, there has to be in order to get through tough times. The second, I think, is resilience. So I failed so many times now, and I'm probably the hardest person on myself, but what I know is that I always get back up. And it's like, you can't stay down for too long. You have to sit in it, make peace with it, and move on to the next thing before it becomes a really big issue. So I would say being an entrepreneur is extremely hard, but if you have those core qualities, it makes it all that more worthwhile when you actually get to that goal.
Anyone want to add to that? That key attribute.
What sticks out to me is the word hustle. I think it's been overused, especially in the entrepreneurial community, that word. But it really is true. I mean, you're moving at a pace, at a speed that the average person is just not. And you have to, right? Because you constantly have to come up with solutions. The best description actually was, you're building an airplane as you're flying it. And it's pretty true, because you're building this amazing thing that you believe in and the people you're working with believe in, but you gotta make it work. You just gotta make it work. So you do that by hustling, you connect to communities, you ask questions, you build things until they fail, and you constantly hustle to find an answer. And I think that's a quality that separates people that wanna build a company or wanna build something. And so that's the word that pops into my head.
Anyone have, no pressure, but does anyone have? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go. So I'm going to give you a different answer. Those are absolutely right, and those are my first and second best. They're definitely the best answers.
Thanks.
Yours would have been third. Well,
Yeah, you don't know what I'm going to say. No, you go.
Okay.
I know what I'll say now.
So as I've gone on this journey, part of it is know yourself. And so, I'd start with that. There's a great survey. It's called VIA survey. And when you do it, it tells you everyone has 24 strengths, and it kind of helps you rank your top 24. And if you find a way to do your top 5 in your daily life, you're going to be happier, you're going to be more productive, lower stress, right? So, hustle's not one of them. You have to have hustle, and you have to have resilience and grit to survive. But as you kind of know yourself, it kind of goes back to some of those, like, old Marcus Aurelius, the obstacle is the way, Stoic. It really kind of pushes you to the core. And I think that ties in with what those, esteemed colleagues have said. Your turn.
Didn't take any philosophy classes or anything like that. So, as alum of Lafayette, I didn't really understand this when I was in college in 2004 through 2008. I thought it was great to take a variety of classes. I did not understand how fundamental it was to see the world from different perspectives. And I think what Lafayette has really done in retrospect, once again, when you're 21, like, how could you possibly know this? But I give credit to those who might be able to have this perspective when you're 21. It positioned me to know right away that I could not be good at everything, because we had to take classes in everything. So how could I be good in biology and art and psychology and all of the things? So it taught me humility, which I draw upon now every day, and that's one of our core values at Convolved, is humility. And we don't know all the answers, and we can draw on that to seek help, and through mentorship and advisement. And I see, like, some of these really good ideas from peers in the ed tech space, like, sort of fail a bit. It's like, I know the answer, and this is what we need to do, and just having that perspective to not know all the answers. And I really, in my hiring process, I look for that. Is this person humble? So that's one thing I always think about when building this, is that, like, I don't know, I have to hire people smarter than me and better than me and that have done this before, and also persistence. Like, it's not easy, and we all know that from whatever industry you're working in, whether it's education or finance or entrepreneurship, what have you. It's like those that are persistent, it is not the smartest people that win or the most educated. It's those that will try the hardest and keep going, and not try the hardest just like to try, but to really have that grit and persistence, I would say.
So we'll keep it, we're going to have a networking event afterward, and I believe all our panelists will be around to connect with you. So I want to wrap this up. But I'd like for each of you, you have a variety of different folks sitting in the room. We have some current students in the room. We have some seasoned professionals, maybe they're mid-career, not happy, have an idea. You might have some recent grads. If you could give one piece of advice to the folks in the room who have a passion that they're not currently fulfilling, whether it's at work or some other way they want to have a career that's full of meaning and impact and do something related to entrepreneurship, what would be that piece of advice?
It's also a very loaded question. I'm happy to follow up with anyone in the room afterwards. We're going to talk more. But I mean, like, for me, I think, and I have the luxury of an executive coach now who counsels me through these things, but it's bit by bit that you'll see the change, and you might not realize that with every step you take, whether it's you're an entrepreneur or whatever your industry, but being okay with that is something I've had to learn, because when you start a company and you raise capital, your investors think all of a sudden, what's my return, what's my return, what's my return? Your quarterly board meetings are like, why aren't you reaching these sales goals? I'm like, I don't know, why don't you try doing this? Because it's really, really hard. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about, first of all, because you don't even work in education, but to be honest. So having that perspective, once again, of taking things step by step is the advice I would have. And if you want to try something new, whether it's being an entrepreneur or whatever it is, you don't have to like quit your job. Like, just start trying it. Like, put up a splash page, like make a website. It's so easy these days. When I started in 2012, I feel like I talk like that's like a billion years ago. But like, this wasn't a thing then, and I didn't have this support. At NYU, we didn't even have an entrepreneurial center. That wasn't a thing at NYU, one of the world's biggest institutions. So just trying it, and I talk about that all the time with my husband. I just got married, and I'm like, oh God, being a bride sucks. There's like so many things that could be done better. So I'm like, I should just put up a splash page and see like what happens. So I'm like, I don't want to deal with brides. But yeah, just little things that you can do. Doesn't have to be a big thing, is my advice.
Great. Yeah, man, I guess I'm a little bit more of a planner. So I tried to kind of plan out how I could have a sustainable entrepreneurial career for a couple of years, and if that means lowering your lifestyle or whatever you need to do, because and then you have a plan, you get punched in the face, you're like, oh no, now what do I do? But you got to get back up. And so if I was going to give anyone in the audience advice, I'd say take a little risk. Figure out, are you a skier or are you a snowboarder? If you get good at skiing, are you great at your job in marketing or trading or something else? Are you willing to go and learn how to snowboard? And for me, it's been an amazing journey that has let me learn a lot about myself. And so I'd highly encourage you to do it, but it has to be right for you. It's not for everyone.
So I think I have 3 things, not just one. The first, I think, is there's never the right time to do something. And over these past 10 plus years, I think if I knew what I know now, I probably wouldn't have started my business. So if there is something inside of you telling you you need to do it, if you think about it all the time, if you cannot sleep because you're so passionate about it and you just have these ideas racing through your mind, you must do it. Because living with that regret is almost like such a terrible feeling. And so what if you fail, right? You want to try it. That's number one. Two, I wouldn't advise you to quit like how I did. Reality set in really quickly. I would have a plan B. I think a couple of you touched on that point. Stay at your job. Save up as long as you can. It's extremely expensive to start a business, to hire people. You need tons of capital. So I would say have that plan B and try to stay there as long as possible. And then C, I would say, is perfect your craft. So in my world, there's so many people who call themselves designers but don't know anything. Like they don't know how to sew, they don't know fabrics, they don't know any of that. Whatever you are doing, take a class, go online, meet with people who know it if you don't. I just don't think there's any excuse not to know something you say you're so passionate about.
Damn, those were good. So you hit on the point actually I was going to talk about. I have not quit my job to jump into my startup. And I've wrestled with it multiple hours of multiple days and talked to my wife about it, and it's been an ongoing conversation. I think there's a point to which that you make that jump, right? But I think it's a decision you have to make as a family, as an individual. But one thing that I will say that whenever you're starting a company, there's always a moment when you realize, oh, nobody else is going to do the thing I have to do right now. I'm the only person that's going to do it. Like, if it's going to get done, I got to get it done. And I say that as sort of motivation because if there's something, as you said, in your head, something you want to do, something you're passionate about, no one's going to do it except for you. And most people, they try to build something, but after a month, it fizzles out, they're done with it, they move on to their job. Most people don't persevere, most people don't continue going. It's on you. So if you have something that you're passionate about that is in the back of your mind, you're like, why the hell has this not been created yet? Just give it a shot. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow. Give it a shot, create a splash page, go to an entrepreneurial event, try pitching somewhere, and just try building something. You can't, the sort of lame, you miss 0 shots of the, thank you. But just give it a shot, because if you're not going to do it, no one else will. Well, I hope not. No, but just give it a shot. You don't have to quit your job. Just give it a shot.
So, so many things were said that has my mind racing. But one is the comment around humility. And when I think about what we're trying to do at the Dyer Center, I tell President Byerly and really anyone who listens to me at the college that if we're just waiting on me to come up with all the ideas, we better bail ship right now, because this thing is going nowhere fast. Like, to really make this successful requires the participation, the support, and the commitment of our entire community. I really want to be clear with it. 28,000, Lafayette graduates across the world, that's a relatively small footprint, but what we seek to do at the Dyer Center in terms of equipping our students to compete in a world that's becoming increasingly complex, increasingly competitive, it really does take the support and the input of our alumni network. So if you haven't connected with me yet, I want you to at least get on our email list. So you'll get our newsletter, you'll get information coming out of the Dyer Center, and I really hope to create a community of co-creation, where I send a newsletter out, we're doing a certain event, and you say to yourself, oh, you know what, if they would have just done it like this, or if you would have partnered with my company, we could have done that. That will allow us to really go to the next level. So we need everybody, all hands on deck, to make sure we're really creating the right opportunities so that the next generation of Lafayette students can be on this stage and really having an impact on the world. So with that, please join me in thanking our guests. And I do believe before we start the networking piece, we're fortunate, first of all, to have such gracious hosts to have us at this event in this venue today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the space?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to take 1 minute of your time. Just wanted to welcome you all. I hope you're having a fantastic event. And just let you know that this space is not really an event space. It's Prime Produce is actually what we call a guild for good. It's a collection of people, some of whom are artists, some of whom are startup entrepreneurs, some of whom have quit their jobs, some of whom are looking to quit their jobs, mindfulness experts, architects, spiritual writers. It's a group of people who really are about intentional service in the world. And we, as part of that, open the space up for events. But we also want it to be a space where people feel that they can come, check it out, decide if they want to be a member, if they want to do an event here on their own. So we just want to welcome you and let you know that our doors are always open. So if you come here, you feel like coming by some other time, checking out what other events are, connecting with folks, please do. All right? And enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.